probably like most people, what turns me on is curiosity, finding things that I've never seen before, people I've never met before, music I've never heard before, just exploring. And if someone long ago, I'm 60, you guys are young people, I'm 63 this year, told me, you know, regrets in life are not what you do, they're what you don't do. That if you do something you don't like, don't do it anymore. But if you never do it, you can't go back and capture it. And so I think, you know, as you sort of go through all these experiences, the worst thing you're going to have is a bad time. The best thing you're going to do is have an epiphany. And I think most of life is about insights and epiphanies. And even at work, I preach to our people, you know, we spend all of our time doing process, but really the only thing that really adds value are epiphanies and insights. So we should be in constant search of that. And you know, you get epiphanies in the strangest places, related, it's seemingly unrelated parts of your life. So mine is just this journey. I just want to see, feel, meet, discuss, hear, and there's always something wonderful that comes out of it. And I want to make sure when I'm on my deathbed that I'm not loaded with regrets of things I didn't try.
That's right.
So what's the most interesting thing that you have tried recently?
Boy, that's really interesting. I have no idea. They come in small doses, and to me, every one of them is important to just look, smell, experience.
So that, is it that curiosity and the desire to experience what sort of drove you from one career to the next and one place to the next, or when was it the time you're like, it's time to move on?
Yeah, you know, it's, I think my career has been more of meteors hitting me on the head. They're just things that just, something happens which opens a door to something else. And when I was younger, I would get very discouraged because, God, that thing I wanted so badly, I didn't get. And then a few years later, I say, oh my God, I'm so glad that didn't happen because it opened up this door, and that door was so much more interesting than what was behind that door. And, you know, if you think about when I did MTV, there were no cable networks. So it's not something I could have dreamed of because it didn't exist. Or when I was at AOL, there were some proprietary computer networks, but you know, I went there about the time right after Mark Andreessen had written the Netscape browser, and it really opened up the internet for real consumers. And I was on the board of AOL first, and we actually had a couple of board meetings where people sort of said, well, should we embrace the internet or fight it? Now, the two other companies that did CompuServe and Prodigy fought it. We embraced it, but embraced it means we had all these channels that were news and sports, and internet was a channel. Who knew? By the way, the internet was at that time so slow that actually we had an advantage over dial-up because of the way we used the proprietary language Rainman to make things render. But you know, I couldn't have dreamed to be in the internet. It just was there. It looked interesting at the time, and I said, yeah, well, that's sure. Let's go experience that. And I actually just went on Steve Case's board because I thought, you know, it would sort of be fun to sort of see what's going on here, learn something from that vantage point. And then about a year later, you know, they said, would you come down and, you know, be the president of the company and help run it? And I said, yeah, and I came for like 10% of the money I've been making for years in current income. I just sort of came for the experience. I said, you know, I'm really going to go stay like a year, and I'm only going to work 3 or 4 days a week, and I'm not going to buy a house in Virginia. I don't live in Virginia. And then, you know, I wound up staying 7 years, and, you know, that's the way things happen in life. And I think it's about just opening yourself up to new experiences, and when the meteor hits you in the head, pay attention.
When's the last time the meteor hit you in the head?
Well, it hit me in the head. I mean, here I am working again, and I swore I would never work like this again because the price you pay for a job like I have is you give up so much of the other activities. You like hyper focus on one thing, and I know that, and I always thought I'm an addict, and I broke the addiction, and I was a sort of happy investor, but I could spend a couple of months a year in Mexico and do other things, and I touched the heroin again, and I looked at this thing that was then Clear Channel, And I looked, and radio was so out of favor. No one's thinking anything about sound or audio or whatever. But I looked at it and looked at the consumer trends and started looking at the facts and go, oh my God, this thing is not going to be negatively impacted by digital. It's going to be positively impacted by digital. And oh, by the way, all the stuff going on in video is going to open up a huge lane for this business. Now we got to create some digital stuff and do a lot of things around it, but that's all doable. But it's sort of saying, even though it's out of favor, to me that was the right place to be. And so I've just sort of immersed myself in this journey, and with a great group of people who are all sort of like-minded and partners, and that great concentric circles you build of people who do stuff with you.
So before we go to audio and the invisible interface, which I think is really interesting because, as you said, radio, which is the original invisible interface, is now sound designers and audio designers, especially that are focused on AI. We're all focused on that now, but I want to go back to MTV because I was a kid from the MTV generation. What happened to MTV?
What do you mean? Dropping music? You mean dropping music from the name? That's a problem? It was really, I don't know if anybody saw it, but it was floating around the internet, is after they dropped music from the name, someone sort of perverted the MTV logo, and it was a W, and TF happened to the music. And I thought that was pretty brilliant. I don't know. It's interesting. I think every business has to evolve. Yeah. I think the worst thing is not evolving. Yeah. So I'm not going to say, look, that's not the path I would have picked, but hey, it's a path. And when I was there, we had some real conscious, deliberate decisions about, should we be the voice of young America, or should we grow old with this audience? The two choices we had. And we made the decision to be the voice of young America, but what that meant we had to do is we had to stop doing things that were very successful. Deliberately stop doing them, otherwise we'd look like your older brother or sister's channel, not like your channel. And so we had to go through this thing, and it was like, okay guys, we're going to have to make change a constant here, as opposed to we're going to change it, get it right, and then go, wow, we got through that. It's just every day is changing. Whatever we're doing, it's disposable. Get ready to throw it out, and it's got to be replaced by an even more brilliant idea, an even more creative idea, and something that looks and smells like it's something different. And so I haven't paid a lot of attention, and again, I don't know why, how, but they did evolve, and I think for many years they evolved in, I think, a wonderful way. Tom Freston, who had been, on the original team there with me, and Judy McGrath, who came over from Condé Nast as our writer originally. We have a writer on MTV. I think did a magnificent job with it, but I think, people after it had another ethos.
So when you weren't intentionally making amazing decisions, what was the most significant error you've ever made?
It's funny. People ask in interviews, so what's the biggest mistake you've made? I don't even remember mistakes, because to me it's just, they're just steps. I worked for this wonderful entrepreneur, Steve Ross, who started Warner Communications and started from his father-in-law's 2 funeral homes. He started as a funeral director and built this incredible company, turned into Time Warner. And Steve used to say, Bob, at our company you will never be fired for making a mistake. At our company you'll be fired for not making a mistake. Because you're not making any mistakes tells me you're not trying anything new. That mistakes are the byproduct of innovation. And I preach to our people, as a matter of fact, one of our core corporate values is we expect and tolerate mistakes. Because if we're going to try new things, we're going to be wrong. And by the way, we're probably going to be wrong at least 50% of the time on every group of decisions you look at. We're wrong about half the time. So you have to have a bias toward very quick decision making and keep moving. But if you start looking at your mistakes, then you actually do care about mistakes. And you don't really, it's a platitude when you say, hey, don't worry about it, we tolerate mistakes, that's just a part of innovation. How many mistakes did you make? If we're counting them, then it's important. So we don't count them. I don't think it's a matter, because what we're interested in is we start here and we get there. However many mistakes we make through that process, who cares? What we want people to do is keep trying. We want them to fail fast. We want them to move quickly. Urgency is one of our corporate values. We have a 24-hour rule. No matter what you say, if it's I'm going to build a whole new thing that obviously is going to take 2 years, we start with can you do it in 24 hours? And then we negotiate off 24 hours. And it keeps us from having to drag people forward, but it makes them justify pushing it out, that everything is better done sooner. And so part of that is mistakes. Go ahead and fail quickly. Did you make a mistake? And at our place, if you say, oh, geez, that was the wrong decision, it's like blew up, and go, okay, what are you going to do now? The only time we have a problem is when you say, what happened? To go, well, it's sort of working, and I think it, and you go, no, give it up. You're justifying a mistake. It's a mistake. It didn't work, right? And they go, well, it's sort of, people just don't want to say I made a mistake, but when you can get people comfortable, just saying, yeah, it was a mistake, go, you know, it looked like a good idea at the time, but, you know, it didn't work out that way, great. That's all you need to say, and let's keep going.
Where is everyone racing to now? I feel like, especially in media, I think you hear everybody's like content. Where is it that you guys are racing to? Where is everyone? What is everyone chasing?
I think people chase trends, and I think it's wrong.
Yes.
I think the only thing worth chasing is the consumer. That, you know, how have I had a career running Century 21 real estate, Six Flags theme parks, MTV, AOL, iHeartMedia, and a lot of investing in between? It's because I just look at the consumer, and it's the same consumer. I will never touch a B2B business. I don't know anything about that. But I spend my time focusing on what's happening with the consumer, because the consumer will tell you where you should be going. And when you try something and they respond to it in a different way than you expected, listen to it, because they're saying pivot your product. There's a market over here. There's an opportunity here. I mean, I started a tequila company because I saw a bootleg tequila in the small town in Mexico that everybody loved, because they would say, "Thank Casa Dragones, thank you very much." And I saw that all these people were drinking this bootleg tequila, and expats were carrying around these milk jugs, and the reason they liked it is because it didn't have that. You didn't have to shoot it or put a salt or lime in your mouth to get over that effect at the end. And then my son came down with a buddy of his from Vegas who was running a nightclub, and he said, we drank this stuff, and next morning he said, Mr. Pittman said, you know, I get $1,000 a bottle for Cristal in my club. I could get $10,000 a jug for this. And I thought, a business idea. But it started with just watching consumers. And you know, I think they tell us two things always in every business is they buy brands and they're looking for convenience. If you can take anything people do and make it easier, save them time, they will adopt your product. And in the early days of AOL, when we were trying to say, okay, what's going to work on the internet? The metric we finally came down to is anything that will make it easier for people. And originally we had the chat rooms. And we say, what's a chat room? Oh, it's a chat. And I go, my view, the chat room is a bar. And it's easier because I don't even have to get dressed. I can sit around in my underwear and eat cereal and flirt with somebody. Isn't that a lot easier than going out? And I think each one of the things, and the thing I missed on was, there are two things I missed on, is big time, is I thought people would probably, even if I violated my own rule, I thought, yeah, but there's a violation of the rule. They have to try on their clothes. They're not going to buy them without trying them on. It turns out they would, and they'd send them back. And the other thing was big screens, because I've always said quality doesn't win, convenience wins. If convenience won, no one would have gotten rid of the wired line phone. 50% of the households have. Betamax would be the king and not VHS back in those days. The microwave oven would never happen because the conventional oven cooks better. But its convenience has won every time. But somehow I thought, but when you have a 60-inch flat screen in your living room, or your phone, of course they'll do the 60-inch screen, won't they? And I've got two teenagers, and I started looking something on the phone, and the screen's black. And sort of, I've never seen those two rules violated in consumer behavior. It's just a matter of really analyzing, and then don't do what I did. It was just allow yourself to think that somehow there are a couple of situations that violate the rule.
So let's go back to you being a voyeur. Is it that brings you to Burning Man and to communities like Brother Future?
You know, I love these communities because I think you can be anyone you want to be, and people allow you to do it. You can explore who you might want to be and who you'd like to be with and what you'd like to think about. And I find these communities incredibly respectful of other people's right to do that. And I think that's amazing. And for me, as a human being, I think being in these communities and seeing the ideas people have and what they're doing is it's an eye-opener. I mean, if life's about looking for epiphanies, insights, there's no better place than communities like this or Burning Man, because we open there. I mean, who doesn't walk the fly and go, who thought of that? Where did that idea come from? Or, by the way, you talk to someone and go, that person was a genius. By the way, I don't know their name. I'm never going to see them again. But I just had the most remarkable conversation with this human being. And I think it changes your mind. I've been on a quest, and I think I got on it in my, where's the 50-year-old? When I sort of turned 50, I wanted to sort of recognize what I was really going through. And the problem with most people my age is that the world begins to narrow on you. You go to the same restaurant. Every Saturday morning we go to the whatever. Every Sunday night we do the whatever. And I got my poker game on Thursday. And you go, God, shoot me. How can I go places that continue to open the blinders and open the view of the world? And I think these communities, Burning Man here, this group of people, it's a group of people who will help you keep the blinders off and will constantly give you an idea that goes, shit, what was I thinking about? That's amazing. And I think that's the stuff that nourishes the soul. And by the way, it makes us human beings. I mean, if you think about life, everything we do in work, they tell you, don't worry about the means, the end's the end that's important, except life. The end's the same, you're gonna be dead. The only thing that matters is the journey. And even painful stuff is an experience. If we can just get our head into it, we're experiencing things and we're getting the full view of life. And I think these, again, communities like this, I think recognize that more than perhaps general society might, civilians.
I love you, Bob.
And I agree, actually, 100%. But I think it's interesting that you and every business you've done has been to the masses and not been to those enlightened of us, or whatever you want to call it. So do you find yourself, difficult? Like, I think it's interesting that you've always been able to find that touch point with consumers, but yet the way you live your life is actually sort of more of a 1%, nothing to do with socioeconomic, but in the way you seek and search. So do you ever feel like that push and pull?
It's interesting. Although I've done it to the masses look to somebody to guide them. And I think what we have here is probably a disproportionate share of guides. And so I think if you're doing nothing more than replicating what everybody else is doing, the masses are bored, even though you think you're doing the same thing. Years ago, when I was a young radio programmer, in my early 20s, I admired this guy named Buzzy Bennett. And he was, in my mind, the greatest radio programmer that ever existed. I think he burned out on cocaine or something later. But Buzzy said something that really stuck with me, and I've used it ever since. He said, what we do is the mix of the math and the magic. That the math is the quant. I mean, we understand what's going on out there with the consumer. That doesn't mean we're exciting them. That doesn't mean they're thrilled about it. It's just we know this behavior. Now it's the magician's time. Now we have to take that and we have to do exciting shit that blows their mind. And it's interesting at MTV. And there's nobody in this room that remembers the early days of MTV, but there we used to do these contests on MTV, and I will still have people say, "Man, I remember when you had John Mellencamp gave away that house, and John Mellencamp came and painted the house pink. I remember the Lost Weekend with Van Halen." I said, "You entered the contest?" No one ever entered the contest, but it was just fun to listen to them and think about it, and it established our brand. And I think that's the magic part, where you just got to do it bigger than life. You got to just thrill people. You go, wow, that's cool. And that's where the magic comes in. So any organization I'm in, we have a group of magicians, and everybody wants to fire the magicians because they're crazy. They're they don't follow the rules, or they didn't do the company thing and fill out an expense report in 2 months, and they all want to kill them for all the wrong reasons. But it is the magicians that married with the quants, and it's a team. And we say, okay, here's what the people are, here's what they are, here's how many there are, here's what they love. Now, what are we going to do with that information? And who are we going to lead them to? And what new musicians are you going to introduce them to? I mean, with the radio, I think we're not in the content business. We're in the companionship business. Unlike the music collection. I mean, we do something quite different than Apple Music or the record stores or your CDs. In radio, we're that great friend riding in the empty seat next to you in the car every day. And the reason we play music is actually not because we're a music radio station. We play music because a great friend would be playing some great music for you. And so we're saying, what great music would the friend be playing for you? And that's the way we think about it. What would we be talking about on the air? Who are these people and what are they interested in? And how do we engage them? And how do we give them a friend that most people could never attract? And they go, wow, I mean, I can turn on the radio and there's that cool person that I just love listening to and I get involved in their life every day. And I think that's the whole magic part of taking that information, doing something fun and interesting with it. And if we do it well, masses do come. But they come because it's exciting, not because we're doing the same old dull shit that everybody else has been doing.
No, I think that friend in the car seat next to you, I think that's the way we think about even our AI as we're developing ours, which you guys will be soon introduced to. Her name is Anita. I'd be ashamed if I didn't plug it.
I plug my tequila, it's only fair.
But I think and I'm now shifting obviously to the future, is what some people see as the next sort of platform, which is AI, not just as something to help you at the convenience of your life, but an actual a content platform. But people seem to have a real hard time unless it is that human voice, like K101. Like, what is it? How can you think this next media platform, how can they engage with consumers in a real human way?
It's interesting that we did a study, and we've done a lot of studies on just sort of the power of sound. And we played people with these bracelets on to measure, you know, their galvanic skin response and their pulse rate and all this stuff you can't lie about. It's really getting to you. And we played them all these sounds. The one thing that always goes, people pick, is a human voice. There's just something about we want human contact. If you think about people in their car, they're often listening to their own music collection, and then for some inexplicable reason they turn on the radio. Why'd they do that? We're social animals. Can't stay away from people too long, and they're coming back. And I think it's that human voice that just is what we crave, and we crave human contact. I mean, here we all are. We want to gang up. We want to be with our crew. We want to find like-minded souls, or we want to find people fellow travelers on the journey we're on, or that open our eyes to a whole new journey, or put their arm around and say, come on, I'm going to show you something you've never seen. And I think that's what it's really about.
Okay, so I'm going to pose two words that are on opposing ends of the spectrum, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. One, polyamory. Two, singularity.
Well, look, I think it is, the question is, what are the gremlins we have in life? And I think one of the gremlins we have is jealousy. And we have sort of this, our insecurity, I think, causes us to often want to possess or control. And I think with some people, and it's certainly not right for others, they don't want to be possessed or controlled, and they don't want to control or possess. And I think when you find those like-minded folks, you're on a much more open and interesting journey. I think there are other people that find somebody that the connection is just so powerful that one person does everything for them, and they don't go on that journey, but they go on other journeys. But I think it's a very fine line about, maybe I'm an old man, I'm rationalizing, but I think that, what we really search for in life is not sex, we search for intimacy. And often sex is a way to drive to the intimacy. I don't think it's the other way around. And so, if you have that, the question is, can you be intimate with more than one person? Can you love more than one person? Is there enough love to go around? I mean, you come to communities like this, and clearly everybody loves everybody.